Welcome back to the iBiomed Design Studio. Our design studio is home to many useful tools that you will have access to when working on your design projects. Specifically, this training video will teach you how to use a soldering iron safely. In order to use the soldering iron, you must thoroughly understand the standard operating procedures, also known as SOPs. This can be found on your course website. Soldering irons allow you to join electrical components to wires, PCBs, also known as printed circuit boards, and other electronics. They are an incredibly useful tool and are used in the manufacturing of several commonly used devices. Before we start, there are a few important things to remember. When using the soldering iron, possible safety hazards include eye injury from solder splatter and exposure to toxic fumes. Personal protective equipment, also known as PPE, should be worn, including a smoke mask, goggles, as well as the use of a fume extraction fan. In order to limit the exposure to these toxic fumes, always make sure the fume extractor is on while you are soldering. This will protect you and others around you from any fumes containing heavy metals that you would otherwise inhale while soldering, as well as the associated unpleasant odors. Do not wear loose-fitting clothes or jewelry when you use the soldering iron. Wear closed-toed shoes, safety glasses, and keep long hair tied up. Never touch the heating elements of the soldering iron. Always assume it is hot enough to give you serious burns. Pay attention to your surroundings so that you do not accidentally harm anyone around you while you are soldering. Hold the wires you would like to solder together with tweezers, clamps, vices, or third hands while soldering. The design studio is equipped with a variety of these holders so that you can make sure the board doesn't move and you have both hands available. This will also prevent you from getting a burn if you accidentally overheat one of the components you are soldering. When you are not using the soldering iron, always return it to its stand. Never put it down on the workbench, as this will damage the workbench, as well as the soldering iron, and most importantly, create a hazard for you. Now we will discuss how to begin to safely solder. If you're using a new soldering tip, you must tin the tip of your soldering iron. Usually, the tip should still be tinned from the previous use. To tin the tip, if it is not already tinned, this requires you to first turn on the soldering iron and allow it to heat up. This should take anywhere between 20 seconds and a few minutes. Make sure you only use lead-free solder and to discard any waste solder into the Design Studio's recycling container. Once your iron is hot, bring the solder to the tip of your iron and allow some to flow on, coating it. Wipe the excess solder off in the provided brass solder sponge, or a wet traditional sponge. If you're using the traditional sponge and need to re-wet it, always bring it to the sink, and never bring water around the soldering station. If you have followed these steps, you should now have successfully tinned the tip of the solder. If you ever feel the need to retin the tip of your iron, that is perfectly fine. If you're having difficulties, please let a staff member know, as the solder may be damaged and need replacement. When soldering, it's critical to have everything held down securely. There should be a set of third hands at every soldering station to help you with this. The key to soldering is to heat the part and component using the iron, and then apply the solder. It is important not to add solder directly to the iron because it may ruin it or the components. When you have finished, set the iron back in its holder and turn it off or unplug it. The final step is to wash your hands with soap and water. If you follow all these rules, you can expect a safe and easy soldering experience. If any issues do arise, please let a staff member know. Now that you know the basics about using a soldering iron, iBiomed wishes you happy soldering.